Welcome everyone. Today in Clash Royale we are on a journey to find the best graveyard deck in the game. And this is because, if you hadn't heard, Graveyard has been recently reworked and apparently it's gotten a massive buff because of that. So all of the best players are playing Graveyard, and so we have three Graveyard decks that we're going to be trying out today. The first one is just a concoction that I made that I don't expect to do super well, but it'll be kind of gimmicky. It's Graveyard Mirror. It's a pretty quick cycle deck with some cycle cards that are fairly cheap, so it's 2.7 cycle. We have Monk to Reflect, and the goal with this is to set up an Evo Witch push, get the Monk in front, and then Reflect. And then, hopefully, because it's a fairly slow moving push, by the time it gets to the bridge, we'll have enough Elixir to Graveyard, and then Mirror, and then Reflect to tank. Kind of a long shot, but it's kind of a goofy deck that I figured we would try. The second deck is one that I saw on Royale API that's being used by one of the best top players in ranked mode, and it's something that I'm also excited to try because there's several cards here that I don't normally use. I don't have Evo Valkyrie unlocked, don't have Evo Cage either, and I don't really use the Goblin Stein, so kind of curious to see how this deck works together. And then the last one that we're going to be trying is the fairly classic Giant Graveyard deck, and so we're going to be trying all three of these in the classic challenge mode. And essentially, if you haven't heard what the rework entails, I think I heard that there's one extra skeleton that spawns, but the most important thing is the spawn pattern. Because beforehand they spawned fairly randomly. They would kind of spawn from all around the circle. This is already going to be a difficult matchup in this first one. But the skeletons spawned in random positions, and so essentially what that did is it made it a little bit easier for splash cards to hit them, because a lot of times they would kind of be bunched up together. Okay, this is already not a fun game. It's hard to talk about what you want to talk about when your opponent is just spamming Sparkies and E-Golems in your face, but beforehand it was essentially a little bit easier for splash cards to hit them because they would spawn randomly, they would kind of bunch together, and so essentially what would happen is splash cards would kill the skeletons easier. It wouldn't be as strong, but now because they're spawning on opposite sides. Also, I just realized I queued in with the wrong deck. This is the this is the Giant Graveyard deck, and I meant to go in with the first one, with the Graveyard Mirror, but that's okay. I guess we'll just be trying. The cards and trying the decks in reverse. But now, essentially, the spawn pattern is they spawn opposite each other. So one skeleton spawns on one side of the circle, and then it spawns on the other side, and then it keeps kind of going opposite each other. So they're more spread out. It's harder for splash cards to kill them. So if you were to put down a Valkyrie to defend the Graveyard, which normally would be a pretty good answer to Graveyard, the skeletons are more spread out, so it's harder for the Valkyrie to hit all of them. And so because of that, it's buffed significantly. It's harder to kill the skeletons, so if you have something tanking for it like a giant, they can just kind of accumulate, and even if you do have a splash card there, it's just not going to, oftentimes it doesn't do the job. So that's why when I was looking at Royale API, it's like the top 5 players in ranked mode were all using Graveyard, because it's a massive buff. It's a massive buff for the card, and in order to kind of succeed at Clash Royale and do well, all you really need to do is, not all you need to do, obviously you need to be decent at the game, but you kind of just need to abuse the broken cards in order to get high up in ranked. And so Graveyard is a broken card, and so all the top players are utilizing it. That was Giant Graveyard, did pretty good. It's definitely a tried and true version. We'll go back to this kind of gimmicky deck that I made with Monk and Mirror. I've played a couple games with this deck before recording this video, just to kind of get a sense of what the deck was like. And it wasn't a great deck because, when you mirror a Graveyard and you get extra skeletons, it's not like the opponent needs to spend any extra elixir to kill them. Like he can just, he can log, right? If he were to log the skeletons that are kind of accumulating, um, he could just log like he normally would, and if there was a mirrored graveyard, then it's going to take care of those skeletons as well. So it's like they don't need to spend any extra elixir. It doesn't really provide any extra value. Um, it also looks like we're up against Hog Rider, which is not going to be a super fun matchup just because I used to have Cannon in this deck, and then I put in, or I put in Cannon because I faced Hog Rider, and it kind of broke through, and I didn't have any way to defend against it. So I put in Cannon, and then I ended up taking it out to replace it with something else, because I was like, oh, we probably won't encounter Hog Rider in this video, and now we're encountering Hog Rider. So we'll see how it is. But essentially the goal is to build up a push with the Evil Witch and the Monk, and then Graveyard and mirror the Graveyard once they get to the bridge. And we'll do that already, just because that should be a good bit of damage, even with the Evo Skeletons there. We're going to take a little bit of damage ourselves, but we did get more, so I'm not mad at that. Yeah, we don't have a great answer though for even with the delayed turret time, we're still gonna take. It's pretty much gonna take our whole tower. I didn't realize that that's another one of the changes that was made in January. One of the balance changes that the turret time is delayed from 1 second to 2 seconds, which I honestly think is a very. I'm glad about that change, just because it seemed like the turret could just be spawned instantly, and it would just be. Also, I don't really know why I'm still defending this tower. It's like it's definitely a dead tower. I don't know why I'm still trying to defend it. And we still haven't gotten the opportunity to go for the push that we wanted to. I just got distracted in what I was saying. So we'll play another game with that, just because I got a little bit too distracted, and we never ended up going for the mirrored graveyard. So we'll try that again, and hopefully this time we can get it off, and hopefully this time we don't go against another Hog Rider player. And it looks like we're not. Looks like we might be up against. It would actually be kind of cool if this was Minor Rocket, because then we could kind of bait out the rocket with the witch, and then maybe get a deflection, which would be kind of cool. But it doesn't look like it's Minor Rocket, which is fine. But it would be fun to play against that. I guess it could be. I guess we'll find out. And it looks like it probably is not. The good news is that he does have some deflectable cards. I mean, the Magic Archer is a deflectable unit, so maybe we could do something sneaky with that a little bit later in the game. I think that's going to line up with the tower. Okay. I guess we'll hold on to our graveyard for now. And I think because the push is going to require so much elixir, I think we pretty much have to do it in double. So we'll try to aim for doing that once the clock gets a little bit lower. So we'll cycle our monks in the meantime, and we'll actually go with a deflection there just to be able to kill the Magic Archer, and we shouldn't take too much damage there. And now I think we can start building up our push. So we will go with Go with our witch in the back as soon as this push is taken care of. But I keep having to spend more because um, okay, we're going to play Evo Witch in the back regardless. We're just going to ignore what's going on in the other lane. And hopefully the E-Spirit can kill the bats before. Okay, now we'll go with Graveyard. We'll go with this to tank. There's not even any point in going with a mirror just because the guards are there. I'm now realizing that this is actually not a good deck at all. Snowball is kind of our only way of killing things that are attacking the graveyard, but it doesn't kill the guards. So I think we found out that this deck is definitely too gimmicky to the point where it's not a viable strategy in the game. So we'll quickly move on from this one and try out the last deck, which was a Valkyrie Evo Cage, which I'm kind of interested to try out. And that should line up. So we'll move on. We'll try to forget about that embarrassment of a game, and we'll try out the last one. And you know, it's going to be a good deck just because it's one of the top decks that's being used by, you know, one of the top guys in the ring. But I guess it's just a matter of whether or not I can play it well. I think ideally you'd want to have probably the Valkyrie to tank, but the bar barrels in there to act as a little tank as well. And it looks like we might be up against, yeah, we might be up against Drill. I don't know why he played it in the back into the Valkyrie, but I guess we'll go with one of the Goblinstein monsters. I think he has probably cannon for this. And what else? Sometimes this might be one of the decks that has Mighty Miner as well. Don't really know that don't think our Goblin Cage is going to get a whole lot of value just because he doesn't have any tower targeting troops. So we'll just have to we'll do that strictly to cycle. And this also is not a great sign because this deck has poison, I'm pretty sure, as well. So it's going to be pretty much a perfect answer to the graveyard. Even with them spawning in a little bit of a different pattern, it's still going to get countered by that. But because he just used it, we're gonna go in here, and I played the bar barrel just a second too late, so it's not going to end up tanking, but we will get some damage there. And now we have both of our Evos. I guess we'll hope that he uses his cannon so that we can maybe go with Goblinstein in the back, and we'll try to split it just so if he plays anything in the middle, we can maybe get a bit of extra value. We'll try to go with this to tank, and I keep playing the bar barrels just a second too late. But he did just use his poison again, so. But he's probably going to be right back to it just because his cycle is so quick. We're going to go in just because he's spending a lot there, and the Goblinstein is tanking. Probably should have played the poison a little bit lower. And hopefully the Valkyrie can get a hit. I think it did. As long as he keeps poisoning on offense, I'm not mad at it, just because we can keep going with a graveyard and he won't have poison for defense. And I don't know if you can tell, like I don't know how easy it is tell that the spawning pattern is different. It probably looks very similar, but like you can see that like the even though we played a berserker and a bomber, it was just there were still skeletons kind of accumulating because the bomber couldn't splash everything. The berserker kind of had to walk around because all the skeletons weren't spawning in one spot. So that's a pretty good deck. I think it would have been much more of a challenge if our opponent had just saved his poisons for defense because he kept using them on offense for some reason. But that is kind of the new reworked graveyard. It is, absolutely one of the strongest, probably one of the strongest cards in the game, just because everyone at the top is using it. So if you want to know a good deck to use to climb up, to get to the next arena, just put graveyard in your deck. Make sure that you have a tank, like the giant or the bowler or the knight or the goblin stein, or just any kind of heavy unit to tank. And as long as you make sure that the tanking unit is tanking, then your opponent's just going to struggle to kill it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the new graveyard video, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening or morning or whenever time it is for you. And I will see you all in the next video.